Hello, hello, and welcome to the WildStar Livestream Event Spectacular, episode number 5-ish. I'm David Bass, and with me,
I'm Stephen Frost. How you doing?
and we are here to talk about one of the most exciting classes, because it is a brand new class, finally, the Medic.
We can say it now.
Yes, we can.
And not get in trouble when we say it before this tape.
I think we can finally take that sheet down that's been sitting next to your desk that says how many times you've leaked the Medic and Engineer.
To be fair, Hugh Shelton, who was also going to be on this podcast later, likes to drop it like it's hot as well.
That is true, and also Jeremy Gaffney, and also our
Mike
web
Donatelli.
team, and probably everybody.
Yeah.
So, Medic and Engineer are a thing, but today we're going to be focusing completely on the Medic. The Engineer will be next week, of course. And so we've got a really exciting show for you guys. Help us out. Let people know that this is going on today. Tweet about it. You can use hashtag WSLive to submit your questions and to let your friends know that this is going on. Tell all your friends about it. Go to Facebook. Go text people. Call mom. Let her know that she can tune in. I actually did text my mom right before and said, hey, you should watch me.
That's adorable.
It is really cute. She might be in chat right now.
Oh.
But probably not. So before we get to the good stuff, let's go over some really cool stuff that we've had doing in the past couple weeks.
Yeah, so we had the Reddit AMA this week, so we were talking about the Medic, obviously. And we got a lot of really good questions, suggestions, that sort of thing. What we can kind of expect from that is some Stalker versus Medic action today. Somebody had a request to see that going on.
Yep.
We also have, we talked about the DevSpeak stuff. We talked about the class drop video that we had, the flick this week.
Which was awesome.
We had a lot of questions as well about the DPS variability.
Yeah, a lot of people just assume because it's a medic that you can't do any, that's just all heals all the time,
Right.
and that is definitely not the case.
Yeah, and there's a lot of DPS action. You're going to see that today. We're going to do some PvP, some dungeons, some PvE. We're going to show pretty much all the aspects of the medic today. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And in addition to that, you mentioned the Stalker before. I know we skipped the Stalker stream, and unfortunately that was because of Thanksgiving. And so we're still going to reschedule it. We're still going to do the Stalker stream, but we figured a lot of people were really more excited about the Medic and Engineer for now because we had never talked about them before.
Right.
So we're going to do the Medic stream this week. We'll do the Engineer stream next week, and then we're going to reschedule the Stalker stream for a later date, and we'll let you guys know when that is. But we haven't forgotten about the Stalker, and like Frost mentioned earlier, we're still going to show a little bit of the Stalker off today. I think we're going to have Mark fighting with and against the Stalker at certain points, and so we'll get to see that in addition to the Medic stuff. Do we want to talk about beta?
Yeah, so just a heads up. You guys might see some offers for beta keys in the chat today or from various nefarious websites and such. Just don't do that. If you want to try to get beta stuff, either check your email from us or look for giveaways that we are promoting on our website, on our Twitter, that sort of thing. Just avoid it at all costs because you're not going to get into beta and who knows, maybe get some like weird virus or banned by us.
Yeah, there's a lot
perhaps.
of scam stuff out there, and if you're caught buying a key, unfortunately, they're going to ban you. And so just hang tight. We're getting everybody in as fast as we can, and we are gonna. I think the giveaway stuff might start in the new year, so there will be some official giveaways happening at some point. But keep an eye on our website, Facebook, Twitter, all of our official channels, and we'll let you know when those things are legit. And speaking of beta, the beta survey is still going on, the winter beta survey. If you have not had a chance to fill that out, you can go to surveymonkey.com/s/WSWinterBeta and fill out the survey. Asks for a lot of like demographic information. Are you male, female? How much money do you make? How much?
And as
where
well,
do you live?
if you want to increase your chances of getting into beta, filling out this survey will definitely help.
Yes, that is 100% true. We are inviting people who filled out this survey before anyone else, just because you're willing to give us some of the information that we've been looking for. And so as a reward, we're prioritizing anyone who fills out this survey. So if you filled it out already, great, you're good to go. If you haven't filled it out yet, go do that. There's no time limit on it, but obviously the earlier you do it, the more chances you have to get into beta. I think that's it, right? That's all we got for this pre-show stuff.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the cool stuff. I'm actually going to let you go, Frost, because you're going to be doing some behind-the-scenes playing today.
I'll be doing some dungeon running with the guys, yeah.
It's going to be pretty awesome. Hopefully you will not die.
I got the skills to pay the bills, son. Don't worry about it.
You're a lot of talk. Pappy's been coming by.
By the way,
suggesting.
Just want to point out, okay, Pappy stopped in earlier.
He did.
Like yesterday when we were doing the dry run and was saying like, look, man, okay, I'm just here to check it out. I'm like, tomorrow, dude, Paps, let's do it. You and me, mano y mano. And he's like, nah, man, I'm busy. My wife won't let me. And then he just faded out into the background.
Yeah, he was like, we got to schedule this. And you're like, all right, I'm ready. Do it. And
I
he
had
was
my
like,
pen and paper.
No, I can't.
And then he just went away.
Yeah. So at some point, it'll happen as soon as Chad stops being a little
Sissy pansy, man.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But anyway, we're going to say goodbye to you.
Yes.
We're going to have the class guys come on and join us. But in the meantime, how about we show off that classes flick that just came out this week?
That classes flick, though.
We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Fill her up, barkeep. I got me woes aplenty. All right, here, let me get this thing out. Sure, come to Nexus, they said. A marauder's paradise, they said. Towns and villages ripe for raiding, looting, and pillaging. For a simple, hard-working scallywag like myself, it sounded like the perfect place to buckle down and do me bloody business. So where be the problem, you might ask? The whole planet's crawling with psychopathic killers! Oh. Warriors, armed to the bloody teeth! If they ain't chopping you to bits, then they're blowing you to hell with those arm cannons. And people call me a bloodthirsty bastard. Being gutted by an honest blade be one thing, but these espers use their friggin' minds to make swords and beasts and... What the hell is that? Don't get me started on spell slingers. Up and around like half-mad space demons and using them magic pistols to shoot people home. Me blasted eyes got more patches than a leaky garbage scow. Oh. And just when you think it's okay to start terrorizing the townies, one of these bloody stalkers appears from out of the shadows and skewers you with them pig stickers. Ah, me poor liver ain't been working for weeks. Then there be medics. Don't let the name fool you. Their bloody resonators will shatter your bones and boil your innards. Not exactly the bedside manner I was expecting. What's that you say? Am I afraid of the engineers? Never heard of them. What are they gonna do? Change me oil and tighten me screws? Oh, bloody hell.
And we are back. And by we, I mean I'm back. And you guys are here with me.
Back again one more time.
Why don't you introduce yourselves again?
I'm Hugh Shelton. I'm the class lead.
I'm Mark Matzenbacher, Markal, the warrior and the medic designer. Now I can finally say that.
You can finally say that you
Yep.
do, in fact, work on more than one class, not the redacted.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility to have two classes.
It was-
Some only have one, but
I was
Well,
impressed.
some of us have all the classes that we get to.
Yes, but some of us are
raise
good at
like
not
children.
leaking them. All right, so we are here, and we're going to jump into the medic today. Mark is the class designer for the medic, and so we're going to have you play a bunch, show off all the different things that the medic can do. We're actually going to jump straight into a
Yeah,
duel.
we're kicking things off a little bit
Yeah.
differently this time. This should be exciting.
We're gonna Hugh's gonna go through the overview of the medic, explaining how the medic kind of the basic outline of the medic and their philosophy. And Mark, you're just gonna jump right into
Yeah,
a
why don't
duel
we just go ahead
while
and
we're
do
doing
this?
that,
Indeed.
and then we'll go into a little more depth after the duel. So why don't we switch over? There we are.
So I got my female Mordesh here, named Morticia.
Of course. And this is we're in Algaroc right now, one of the older zones that we've shown off previously. But we've got Jade, the stalker designer, who is sitting here ready to duel.
He's also the Esper designer. I know he's been getting a little flack for his Esper play, but hopefully get a chance to redeem
He's actually
himself
pretty
with
solid.
This, Stalker play here.
He's been using the Stalker more than the Esper lately.
So
Let's
we'll
duel
go
it
over
up.
your build a little bit later, but in the meantime, Hugh, do you want to talk about how the medic actually plays?
Sure, I'm going to give the quick overview of the medic. So as you see what's going on, the medic's not going to be quite what you expect when you hear just the name medic. He's this like super high-tech dubstep class with light shows coming out of his resonators. These resonators are these super high-tech weaponry that can both heal allies and they can also deal damage to enemies. So as you see here, he's in a DPS stance, or not a stance, he's just doing DPS form, and he's doing a lot of damage to Jade here. The duel is going pretty well so far. It looks like Mark's getting the better of him this first round. Besides the resonators, the medics have things like probes. These are devices that they can cast on their allies and they cast on their enemies. Some of the probes are going to do damage over time. Some of the probes are going to buff or debuff other players. And the medic also has things like fields. These are things that you place on the ground. They do damage into the area or they buff allies in the area. In PvP, it's pretty important to stun an enemy player and then use your field. Otherwise, they're able to move out of it pretty quickly.
Yep.
There's also some fields that will snare enemies, which means they're going to be stuck in that area a little bit longer.
Yeah, you can also create good choke points and things like that with good placed fields. If you kind of use them willy-nilly, you're going to end up, kind of misaiming your field, and it's going to kind of be a waste.
Absolutely. Besides the resonators, the fields, and the probes, the medic also has access to hybrid abilities, which do damage and heal at the same time. Mark's not actually using any of those right now. Those are in the support tree as part of your healing, so that's something that healers in dungeons will get to take advantage of. And then why don't we just talk about the playstyle of the medic. You'll see that the range of these abilities are kind of this medium range. They're longer than the attacks that the Stalker is able to do, so you'll see that Mark is kind of backing up a lot more. He's basically trying to kite Jade at a very short distance and try to keep his distance.
Jade might actually have you this time.
It looks like the Stalker is getting the better of him.
So you can see that Mark keeps leading Jade into those fields.
Mark pulled it off just barely.
Yeah, the strategy of the medic, especially in a duel and a 1v1 like this, is I have to use my fields, and then I have to often move through them or move around them to make sure that my enemies have to go through them to get to me.
Yeah. Yep. And
it looks like Jade actually won that one.
Jade did pick up the win. That was so close.
So we obviously we don't have UI yet for the duel, so you guys can't see who won and lost.
We're still in closed beta.
It tells you in chat who won and lost, and so I happened to catch that you're trying to claim that you won when you didn't. In fact,
I mean, it was pretty dang close. All right, so we'll do a best 2 out of 3 here.
Sure. Let's do one more.
I gotta claim my title as best dueler of the streamers.
That's not the right command.
Yeah, it is not.
There it is.
There we go. All right.
You'll notice that the medic, he's actually able to. It might not look like it sometimes when he's taking a lot of damage from the Stalker, but the medic actually wears medium armor, so he's able to take a little bit more damage than the other healers, like the Spellslinger or the Esper, who are both in light armor. And the medic is also very mobile. Since his abilities are really short range on the heal and the DPS side, he has to be able to move while casting almost all of those abilities.
That was a nice pull by the Stalker.
Yeah, that was collapse on the Stalker that pulled Mark in.
So you see the Stalker obviously very mobile, and we'll get into that during the Stalker's live stream, but they've got a lot of gap closers. There's, obviously it's really important for the Stalker to stay close.
Mark did a decisive victory there.
Nice.
What can I say?
You popped her innate, right?
He uses innate energize.
Sometimes you gotta do what's necessary to win the fight.
All right, well, that's it for the duel. Well, at least the 1v1 duel.
Yeah,
we're gonna try something.
That was fast and frantic. You might have to rewatch all this a couple times if you want to know what's
We'll have this up later on the channel.
Just know
after
that I'm
the
better
show.
always. That's all you need to know.
We'll have the duels up after the show on the Twitch channel and up on YouTube, so you guys can watch it in slow-mo if you want. But for now, we're going to say goodbye to Jade. We're going to head over and do some questing.
We should say that we're going to come back to Jade and do a little bit more PvP later on.
We're going to try something different with PvP this time, a little bit later. But for now, we're actually going to go into detail, a little more detail about the build that you're using, explain a little more about the medic's abilities and how you're building your character when we're going out to do some quests.
Yes, indeed. After
you build your
get this set up, we're trying to not have the dead air that we've had in previous streams.
And you can also see, I don't know if anyone's caught it yet, but we're actually playing a brand new patch, new milestone build that we've got. And while we're switching this stuff over, we're actually going to show the dev speak, the medic dev speak before we jump into this.
Let's do it.
So why don't we go ahead and do the medic, and we'll be back in a minute.
Welcome to WildStar. This is DevSpeak. Disclaimer. Today we're going to take a look at a class that we've been keeping secret for a while. Well, sort of. You can see him right there. And there and there. but today we're going to talk about it. It's called the Medic. Our goal with the Medic was to make an ultra high-tech, close-range, hybrid healer and damage dealer. Think Tron meets Neurosurgeon, only weaponized. And like all our classes, we want it to be mobile, challenging, and fun, not about some UI minigame. So medics come equipped with resonators, stations, probes, medium armor, and a medical degree. Resonators allow medics to charge or channel powerful diagnostic fields that mend wounded allies or devastate healthy enemies, often simultaneously. How is this achieved? Science. Medics can also deploy persistent fields called stations. Stations let them strategically control the battlefield by leaving fixed zones for damage or healing. Probes are little AI scanners that can be attached to allies and enemies. Healing, damage, buffs, debuffs, whatever you need, just probe it. And when the time is right, you can re-trigger the probes to detonate. Boom. Finally, we equip medics with medium armor, which is good because sometimes you'll need to get up in a boss's grill and heal your homies. Well, that's it for our preview of the Medic. Check out the site for more info on this crazy doctor. Give us a shout on social media. Let us know what you think. Remember, the devs are listening.
And we are back. For those of you just joining us, I am David Bass. With me, I've got Hugh Shelton, our class lead, and Mark Matzenbacher, our warrior and medic designer. We are showing off the Medic today on the WildStar Livestream. We're going to go through Medic gameplay. We just showed off some dueling against a Stalker. We're going to do some questing now. We'll maybe do a little more PvP after this. And then we'll finish it off with probably another dungeon boss. Why not?
Finish out a little storm.
So we're seeing a lot of competition today with a bunch of other live streams going on at the same time. So let your friends know that our stream is the best. Tell all your friends, tweet, Facebook, go on Reddit, go tell everyone that this is happening right now. You don't need to watch the LCS. That'll be there next week. You don't need to watch the Magic the Gathering tournament. That'll be there later. Come watch us, because we're way more interesting.
I think
way
all the
more
hip
exciting.
people call this hype.
This is what we call the hype train.
The hypey train.
Chua chua, as they
That's
say.
better than what
I'm
I'm
so sorry. Anyway, so before we jump back into the game, we're actually going to go through the build that Mark has made for his character. So let's step through those abilities that you've got, and we'll kind of explain how each of those work and what we're going to do.
Yes, so the first ability that I'm running is Discharge. This is the Medic's basic attack. It is a conal attack. You can see that it is medium range between, it's kind of between the melee, between the long range of the Esper and the Spellslinger. It's basically a really simple channeled ability that builds one of my power cores, which is my main resource at the end of the cast. And we'll move on to number 2. And this ability is called Gamma Rays. This is my first consumer. It consumes 2 cores with each use. It is a cast time, and it deals damage basically in 3 lines. It's a little hard to see on the infographic, but there's basically a center line that kind of deals more damage, and then 2 outer lines that do a little bit less. The cool thing about it is that you can hit enemies with all 3 lines, so it really kind of promotes aiming well. Sometimes you have to hit enemies with just 2 of them if they're moving around, but if you aim really well, you can hit them with all 3 and do some really good burst. Let's move on to number 3. Paralytic Surge. This is my main CC ability. It is a stun. It hits in this kind of cool diamond pattern. It basically deals a little bit damage and stuns the enemies, which is great. For the medic, it allows you to keep enemies in your fields, cause vulnerability on creatures, all that good stuff. Next here I got Fissure. Fissure is a pretty interesting ability. It basically creates this collapsing wave of energy starting from the outside and then going into the center. Also, like Gamma Rays, you can hit enemies with kind of all portions of the damage. So if you aim well, you're going to be hitting them multiple times. It also applies a debuff that makes them take more damage. Next, we got Devastator Probes. This is the primary probes for the DPS build. You apply it in the cone, so you can apply it to 5 enemies right now in the cone. It'll put the probe on them, do damage over time. Then you can detonate the probes to do burst damage. One thing that's really cool is that you don't actually need to aim the detonation portion. So if your enemies are running all around, you can just detonate and it will detonate no matter where they are.
So you can just tag them and then run away or whatever.
Next we got Atomize. This is a pretty cool burst damage ability. It is only available after a crit, so you kind of have to be wary of where it's at when it's available. The good thing about it is it ignores the global cooldown, so you can kind of do it after you've done an ability immediately, get some really good bursts on it. Next we got Particle Collider. This hits in this kind of interesting chevron pattern, which is good because you want to use it mainly to execute enemies. It deals bonus damage to enemies at low health, and having this kind of pattern means that you get enemies that are kind of close by and you can get the kill. And finally, we have empowering probes. This is a little bit different than Devastator probes. These ones can't be detonated, and this is more of a group support buff. You apply it to yourself and allies, and it will increase the damage that they do for the duration that the probes are on you. One thing that's cool about that is that you can tier it up over time, and you can get multiple charges so the probes can stack up, or you can kind of use them more steadily as you go.
Cool. So that's the build we're going to start with, and so why don't you just go ahead and start killing some things. And we'll try and call out some of those abilities as you use them. You can see that
a wild warbot.
Hugh, Hugh, do you want to talk about the main resource that the medic's using?
So the medic has something called power cores, and this resource starts full when you're out of combat. So you start with 4 power cores.
And that's a very temporary UI you see there.
Yeah,
those red circles.
That's very temporary.
Yeah.
The art team has not done their final pass on that or anything like that.
It's a work in progress.
But basically, you have abilities that consume those power cores, and you're able to do those right at the start of the fight rather than having to build those up during a fight. So you have them at the start of the fight. You can use them off the bat if you want to, and then you're also able to build them up with your basic ability like Mark was talking about earlier. And so this makes the medic kind of... You have the capability for a little bit of burst up at the start of the fight. It's still not going to quite reach the burst levels that a Stalker has at the beginning of a fight. But out of all the classes, the Stalker and the Medic are the 2 that have the best early damage capabilities, or emergency healing capabilities, since you are a healer as well.
And I'm sure people are wondering when we're going to get to the healing, and I can assure you guys that we will be doing a lot of medic healing today.
You will see all good kinds of healing from
Both
me.
in PvP and PvE.
Yeah.
And oh wow, look at that laser. And unlike Jade, I will heal the tank, and we won't wipe.
There's been a lot of trash talking of Jade recently.
Well, you know, I did just soundly beat him in the duels.
You did just
I
smoke.
thought
That's
they were
true.
pretty close. I think it's time for you guys to team up. Maybe
Yeah,
next
we can do
time. I
it.
think there's no more fighting. I don't like to see my class designers fight against each other.
No
too much.
strife in the
We're all
team.
friends here.
Before we do that, though, I'm actually going to switch up builds really quickly to show some other abilities that we're going to use.
And while you're doing that, I'm actually going to grab some questions off the live stream. So in one of the videos about medics, someone said that one of the abilities does tech damage. So do you want to explain a little bit about the kinds of damage that you'll see in WildStar?
Sure. So in WildStar, we have 3 different types of damage. We have technology damage, we have magic damage, and we have physical damage. And so some of the classes only have access to maybe 1 damage type. Some of the classes have access to 2 damage types, and the medic is focused solely on technology damage currently. That's something that we're going to be iterating as we go through beta and we get player feedback on it.
And so do you then get to build resistance against these things?
Yep,
or
every player and creature also has resistances to those 3 damage types, and so you might come across a player who's been building up their technology resistance, or they have abilities that increase specifically their technology resistance. And then you also have some abilities that debuff technology resistance. One of the medic abilities, Fissure, actually debuffs technology resistance on characters. So if you're a medic, it's really good to team up with somebody like, I don't know, somebody else who does technology damage, like an engineer. Maybe I can say that. He was able to take down creatures a little bit faster than players would normally be able to in this area.
At this level range, I wouldn't have the full action set and not all of these abilities.
And he's also...
we just thought this area was kind of cool. We wanted to show it.
He also has a ton of practice as a medic, obviously.
All right, let's go over this secondary build.
Why don't we talk about the build that you got here? Do we have... we do have graphics.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to maintain Discharge. This is, again, my basic attack. It's using cores. We've already gone over that, so let's move on to the next one.
While we're waiting, we can actually start talking.
Yeah, okay. So this is one of the abilities I was using in the duel. It's called Quantum Cascade. It's also a consumer, like Gamma Rays. It's a little bit easier to use at times. It basically deals the AoE in 3 different rings, so it kind of is almost the opposite of Fissure, where it creates kind of an expanding wave of energy.
It looks like we're having some issues with our graphics. Do we want to just switch back in-game and go over it?
There we go. Yeah,
perfect timing.
So as you can see, it's got these kind of diamond patterns. It starts in front of you, so it's really good for when you're solo questing. You can always kind of hit the mob that you're fighting, but then it creates those expanding waves out from you. Deals damage each tick. The next ability I have for my main CC is magnetic lockdown. I was also using this in duel, which is very handy against melee. It roots enemies in place, which is key for this build because I'm rolling with fields. Last build was more concentrated on direct damage. This is fields. Magnetic lockdown helps me keep enemies in those fields. And as we said, nullification field. This is a mouse target ability. So I click the ability and then I can either mouse click or just click the ability again and it will automatically place the field where my mouse is, and it deals damage over time. So you want to place this in PvP and choke points or in solo on top of your enemies. Next is Annihilation. This is a pretty cool ability. It creates essentially a field that does waves of damage in front of you. I also use this in a duel. So you want to keep enemies in front of you, dodge through them if you have to make sure that they stay in that. The next is Restraint Grid. This also creates a field. This one doesn't do any damage, it just snares really hard. And it also moves you backwards, so you can use it to get out of the way of the enemies and make sure that they're having to run through the big snare field. Hopefully where another field is placed, so they're also taking big damage. Urgency. This is a pretty interesting ability. One of three things will happen. It will either blink you forward 20 meters, or if you have an enemy in front of you, it will blink you to the enemy and you'll do AoE damage. Or if there's a friendly in front of you, you will blink to them and do AoE healing. So it's really kind of multi-purpose, and you can use it many different ways.
And it also works as a crowd control breakout, right?
Yes. Initially, it only breaks you out of movement impairing things like snares and roots, but later on, it will break you out of all CCs.
Oh, wow.
And then finally, I have protection probes. Basically, this just reduces the damage that I take for a duration of time. It's kind of the foil to empowering probes, which does damage increasing, and this does damage reducing.
Are these probes all group-wide buffs?
Yes, the all the friendly probes will apply to you and to allies that are in range.
Okay. So it looks like this build. I mean, you can go ahead and start killing stuff just as we fail the challenge. But it looks like this build is much more focused on controlling movement and then just dropping a bunch of fields on them.
Yeah, he has a lot of ability to slow down NPCs, keep them in place, or players if he was going to be using this in PvP.
And so there's just no safe place for the creatures to run. And we were seeing that in the duel too, where you were forcing Jade to run through those.
He was using a lot of these abilities in the duel. And most of these things are things you can take as a healer or a DPS.
Yeah. One thing that's kind of interesting about this build is, so the last one was very burst, so I was taking creatures down much faster. This, because it's kind of more persistent, it does slower, but because of the control you have, oh my gosh, you stunned me, is that I can take on many more creatures as long as I control them well.
Yeah, those are the main two playstyles that the medic has at DPS. Is you have that bursty capability where you're dealing direct damage, and then you have the damage over time through your fields and through your probes.
As you see, as I'm playing, I'm constantly cutting him around. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, you might have pulled too hard.
It's time to get out of town, I would say. That's a nice user of Strength Grid.
Nice, nice.
And so he's actually showing off some of the mobility that the medic has here. We talk about mobility a lot in WildStar, and some people don't know, what do we mean by mobility? What do you mean by mobility? And when we say that,
that was impressive.
You guys did a good job. You did a good job.
And so what you really did there, it looked like, was that you kind of had to break them apart, right? You had to make sure that you could keep a couple of them out of the way so you could take down some of them.
Yeah, so unlike a tank, I mean, I do have medium armor, but I'm not as heavy as the warrior, so right there I was definitely taking a good amount of punishment, and I thought I could take it more than I could, so I was kind of staying in there, and once I realized that I was in trouble, I had to move around, place my fields, keep them away from me, doing damage while they're trying to get to me.
Yeah, all the abilities that he has on his bar right now, he can cast while moving around, so he's never has to be stationary when he's fighting against NPCs or players.
Yep. Let's get this
man, I wish every time we get one of these cool fights where it's like, oh, Mark's pulling more than he needs to. Oh no, he's gonna die. Oh no, he made it out of it. It almost looks like we've practiced that and prepared that, but we're not that smart.
No.
It's just actually.
He just goes into danger mode.
He just knows how to play.
He gets himself out of it.
I like to say that the medic has to go into the danger zone to do the fighting, because you have to go in closer range than, you know, the dainty spell slingers or the espers.
Is Kenny Loggins doing a voiceover for the game, by the way, speaking of danger zone?
I don't think so.
don't know.
I mean, that would be sweet, but...
Oh man, I'm making some terrible, terrible jokes today. I'm so sorry. So now we got some of these bigger guys.
Sounds like we've gotten a ton
spin
of
the camera up so we can see how cool he is. Up, 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 up. Are you gonna die?
Nah, man.
Okay.
I'm good.
We've been getting a ton of really good questions.
Oh, we do. Let's ask some questions. Oh, of course. Airwolf wants to know, what about the medic healing? We're going to get into medic healing later, but what is it about medic healing that sets it apart from Esper or Spellslinger healing? Oh, Mark.
That's okay.
You had one job.
You-
I was trying to let the transition into the questions. Come on.
He'll redeem himself later. Let's answer this.
So let's answer the question. What is it about medic healing that makes it different from the other classes?
So the Esper is going to be kind of familiar to players who have played a lot of other MMOs. You have a good assortment of targeted heals, but you also have some freeform targeted abilities to kind of ease you into that WildStar gameplay style. Whereas the Spell Slinger, you're kind of staying pretty far back, and you have a lot of these fairly narrow skill shot heals. Whereas on the Medic, you're going to be up close. You're going to have to stay within about 15 meters of your allies as compared to the 30 meters that a Esper or a Spell Slinger has to do. And so you're right up there in the action. And besides the fact that you have to be up close, you're also using these healing fields and these probes to heal your allies rather than the more direct heals that some of the other classes have.
Yeah, it actually makes it some pretty interesting gameplay as a healer because you can't just sit in the back, with everybody in front of you. You have to kind of move around. Sometimes the range damage will be on your peripheral, and you got to keep the tank in mind. You have to kind of like move and aim and constantly switch between, who you're healing.
So I actually want to see. It looks like all these creatures you're fighting actually have these little scientist logos on them. Do you want to pull out your bot?
I can indeed.
Because you are a scientist,
there he is.
and these guys need to be scanned.
Which is actually nice because he
And now
pulls for me.
now he's pulling threat, and your bot's gonna die. But that's cool because now you've scanned these guys as one of your scientist missions. We're trying to figure out why these scientists are actually all augmented. You can see they've got some weird Elden technology planted on them or something. So they've kind of gone a little crazy. And so the scientist is going to scan these guys to figure out what's going on and why these humans seem to be not nice anymore. Let's grab another question. This is a great question. Since you're using your fields build, do multiple instances of the same field ability from different medics stack?
Yeah, they do. So in some cases, the medic actually has some abilities that you have multiple charges of, and so that you're able to stack 2 of your own fields on top of each other. Like here, it's 2 different fields, but nullification field can actually be tiered up, so that you can put down 2 nullification fields at the same time and stack them on top of each other. And then, besides being able to stack your own fields on top of each other, other medics can stack their fields on top of your fields.
And so in PvP, if you're running with a full party of medics, you're just gonna have fields everywhere,
Yes.
and they will do a lot of damage.
There are some fields, if they have like really powerful buffs or debuffs, then for example, like the damage can happen with multiple fields, but maybe not the buff or debuff. But that's
so if it has a snare
rare.
on it, the snare might not stack any higher
Sure.
than one medic would do. Or if there's an outgoing healing buff or incoming healing debuff, something like that, it might not stack.
Cool. So we're gonna talk about group support a little bit later. I don't want to ask this question right now, oh man, a lot of healer questions. we should jump over.
We
to
will
the
show the
healing
healing.
stuff.
Don't worry.
Do you want to do that? Let me see where we're at. Yeah, let's jump over after you're done with these guys, and then we can talk more about heals.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. I know everybody really wants to see some
Oh,
healing.
these guys, you know what it is?
These guys are putting some shields on
That's
themselves.
because I have to scan them. That layer.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Look at that, guys. So you can see the yellow part of their bar is an absorb shield that they're placing on themselves. And it looks like if you pull out your scan bot and scan them, it'll remove that absorption shield. So
It makes it a little bit easier to take them down.
So scientists have a little bit of an advantage against these kinds of creatures.
Yeah, which is
Super cool.
probably pretty RP friendly, being the scientist and the medic. I still go soldier myself because why not? I love.
So
things.
let's swap over. We'll answer some questions while you set yourself up.
Let's do it.
Let's jump over. Let's jump out of the game for a minute or two, and then I'll start asking some questions.
There we go.
Cool. So Mark's gonna switch over so we can show off some cool stuff. I always say cool stuff, but literally everything we do is cool. So, is there a favorite role for medics in raids? As in, are you going to be more of a tank healer? Are you going to be more of a raid-wide heal, AoE, single target?
So we've kind of mentioned this before, that certain healers are going to have pairings with certain tanks. It just might be better to heal a warrior as a medic, for example, because they have pretty high mitigation, so they're able to stand in front of a boss and not have to dodge many telegraphs, whereas some of our other characters would have to. So you could do the main tank healing as a medic. You could do more group healing as a medic because you have a good amount of AoE heals. You really have a lot of variety in terms of what you can do.
Yeah.
And when we see the, I think the competitive rating is going to unfold kind of before our eyes as we bring those people in and we have them playtesting our dungeons and our raids. Because everything we have is really, it's really crazy, like
Right.
in terms of the kind of telegraphs that are going on and the kind of mechanics that the bosses have. So it's actually going to be something interesting to see unfold.
Yeah, and we'll have to make adjustments, but definitely
Of course.
the medic, it really kind of depends on, I mean, it's the beauty of the action set, it's the beauty of amps and tiers, what abilities you take, how your gear is. You can really kind of build whatever you want. You could go main tank healer, full, DPS healer, AoE healing, group support, hybrid. It really depends on what you want to do. And you can
Yeah, our goal is that for casual play, that medic could be healing in any one of those roles.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's jump back into the game. We're here. We're actually in Galaris, but we're right on the cusp of White Veil, I believe. So you can see some snow is
snow coming in.
getting ready to roll in.
And I have my Makari female healer, medic.
And this is actually some
healing
new character customization options, I believe.
Yes, indeed. You
That
can
people
see,
in beta haven't seen yet.
Yeah, you can see I got the cool gear on. The
You're like
Makari
a-
still likes to wear gear, but I
Like
got
a
my
Cyclops
I
kind
got a
of.
little Cyclops thing, a little bit of a Bumblebee thing happen. It's all good.
So we're here with. You're now teaming up with Jade, right?
Yes.
So Jade's back as his stalker, and you guys are going to be working together because as soon as you're done cheating your way to the proper levels.
Sometimes we're not leveling these characters up to full each time.
So
That
you guys
would
are out
take
in
too
the
much
open
time.
world. I believe you've flagged yourself for PvP.
I believe I have.
We should double check on that. Yep.
Yes, I am.
Yep. And so we're going to do some 2v2 dueling just out in the open world.
Who are we going to 2v2 against?
I don't know. Let's
don't
see.
know. We'll see.
Let's
What
see if we
happens?
have
Somebody
anyone.
shows up.
Yeah. I
It
don't
looks
know.
like nobody's showing up.
I guess.
So we're just going to chill
I
here.
guess we're not going to, you can, oh,
Go.
look,
Oh,
what's
oh,
this?
there we go.
Where did the cover? Wait,
A
is
wild
that,
engineer
that's
approaches.
weird. He
is
has a
that
big
an
cannon.
engineer?
And,
It is indeed.
some kind of
Holy
a bot
crap.
with him?
There's a bot? What is this? I was so
don't
not
know.
expecting this at all.
Oh man, Jade is all over that Spellslinger.
So this is the world premiere of the engineer. We're obviously going to go into more detail about the
we'll
engineer
talk
during
about
the
it
live
more.
stream.
We'll see how he does in this duel.
But thought we'd give you a little taste of it. So you're doing 2v2 open world, and we're
Yes.
having you, Mark, do healing.
Yes, I'm not DPSing now.
right.
I'm healing. So I'm trying to do my best to avoid damage. And as a healer in PvP, you really have to support my DPS on top of healing.
So
I
Mark's
have to
taking a
land
couple
good
of
crowd controls.
abilities here, like his roots and his stuns, to help lock down the enemy healer, so that Jade, the stalker, is able to stay on top of him a little bit easier.
And so we also have time travel. Brett Shiner, our dungeon lead, playing the role of the Spellslinger healer on the other team. And so we've got the engineer doing some DPS, the Spellslinger healing, and maybe doing some DPS too, it looks like.
Doing a little bit.
Oh, Jade is going down.
I wanted to let Mark focus on this because right now Jade is getting very low. He's having to
Oh, I
use
may
emergency
lose here.
heals.
Uh-oh,
He's trying to keep him up, but
oh, and there's the bot
that's
ability.
it.
That
See,
just
now
destroyed
he's
him.
pulled
Now
him
they're
down.
gonna smoke me.
I think it's best for you just to get out of town. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
Trying
don't
to
think
break
I
out.
see-
You're not going to be able to get away.
I'm gonna fight for it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna give up.
You heal them
I'm gonna-
so
I'm gonna
good.
make
Never give
them-
up, never surrender.
I'm gonna make them take their time killing me.
And if anybody's tuning in right now and is just curious as to what the heck is going on, this is WildStar. This is an MMORPG. We have action, combat, and we're playing a medic.
And
who
we're
is
watching
one of our new classes.
Mark, our medic designer, die
Yeah.
a slow death.
Yeah.
By the bot, in fact.
I would like to say that the opponents that we're facing are in the same room and can talk. I'm not talking to Jade. That's probably why.
But you guys are so in tune that you don't even need to communicate. You
I
can
think
just feel it.
based
right?
on the results of this duel,
Well,
I
maybe
think
you do
maybe
need
they
some help.
do need to
Yeah.
communicate.
So we're going to pop back up. Do you want to try this? Before we go through that, oh no, our heal build. We'll go over that once we get into the dungeon. So do we want to try this one more time?
I think we could do
If
it one more time.
if Jade wants
Here,
to.
let me-
Do
let
you want to
me-
res Jade?
Yeah, let me res Jade here.
So everyone, this is actually new to beta, but everyone now has an out of combat res.
Yeah, every character in our
Yeah.
game, all the classes, are able to res allies out of combat.
So you can just run up and right click on them to save
Yes,
them.
we do.
And so we're going to reset. Everybody's going to make sure they get their health up. Are you going to make any changes to your build, or you think you got this?
I think I just have to be better.
You just think you just got to not
Yeah,
suck?
this time,
Okay.
just focus on the win.
Yeah.
I think we'll get the opener this time.
All right.
Last time we kind of let them get on us.
So you
try
can
it
see
this time.
Jade's in stealth right now, so the other team
Yeah.
can't see where he is.
Yeah,
Except
let's
for
do
that.
it.
All right, so
Except for
this
that targeting thing he's
this
doing.
is on. Let's get this going.
All right. So here we go.
Here we go again.
Oh, look at that. So you can see an immediate burst out of Jade. Wow. Just destroys time
It
travel.
was a fairly nice setup where time travel stood still for him, to be fair.
He got a
at the
nice
beginning.
backstab in there.
He did.
But you can see that if the Stalker gets behind someone with that
He's-
opener from stealth, it's just a huge amount of
The
damage.
Stalker has a ton of
Yeah.
single target damage, especially from behind.
And it looks like
Oh,
Brett
that
just
void
slipped into
slip,
the
though.
void,
He just
and
did a
so
void slip. That's right.
he pops out with some extra health.
He comes out with a stun, hitting up Jade, and Jade is dropping low. You can see with the health bars, they actually change yellow when your health goes pretty low, and then they go to red
right.
if you're really low.
Oh, Jade just sits right through that bot attack.
Mark
believe
just
he got
rooted,
C.
time travel, but he's still at he's a pretty high amount of health. So
Doing some solid heals there, but you're using your heavy ones, so
Yeah.
you're getting pretty low on mana, Mark. You can
Well,
focus. Sorry.
I was being a little extravagant with the cost because I thought Jay was gonna be able to get him.
And he seems like he's not able to get him down.
Oh,
once
but
that
I
bro-
just rooted, and I also empowering pros.
Oh, that
Jay
could be
to
it
take
right
more
there.
damage.
Is
Looks
that
like
it?
Could be it.
Oh, no.
Stun to get out of it. The clutch
Did he pop in
stun
the
by
void
Brett.
again?
No,
No,
he didn't.
he gated through
He gated
us.
right through you. Yep. And Jade is down.
Jade is
again.
down.
Oh,
He had
man.
to move out of that telegraph. He was standing right in the artillery bot's AoE.
But I think
taking
one of the things I want to
damage.
show here is when you guys were, doing the 1v1 duel before, that was a pretty quick fight. As soon as you add some healers to that
Yeah.
mix, the fights last a lot longer.
But it wouldn't last too much longer than
Alright,
where
this
we're at
time
right
I may
now. You
run.
can actually
'Cause
see
you're
the
literally out of focus
bar.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medics
I'm
have
running.
focus like any of our other healers, and it restricts how much healing they can do.
And we
And
actually, there was a question, I don't know where it is on our sheet, so I don't know if we can pull it up, but there was a question earlier if the medic and other classes have regeneration abilities for their resources.
Oh my gosh,
They
he's
do.
still chasing
Every
me.
class that is a healer has a different ability, a unique ability that helps them regenerate.
Are they
their
still chasing you?
focus.
I think he is.
You don't want to turn around to look, though.
Oh, they
I think
s-
I'm
Oh.
You got away.
You got away.
I think Jez.
Nice job.
Jade rezzed safely. He's not a Jezebel. I don't think so.
Where is he? Did he just pop back up into town?
I don't know.
All right. Well,
I'd have to look
that
at my
was
map.
just a little taste of some open world PvP.
Some staged open world PvP,
yeah.
but open world PvP.
I mean,
nonetheless.
What, they totally randomly
intro-
stumbled on each other.
The intro was staged, but the actual fighting was legit.
The
and
actual fight was
It was
completely
me
legit.
not doing awesome. I'm a
Yeah.
little out of practice on the healing.
So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna switch you over and we're gonna finish up Storm Talon's lair.
Let's
We've
do
done
it.
the first two bosses previously. Let's hop off of the. Oh, we already hopped out of the game. Look at that. So you're gonna set up your build and hop into
I
the
am
dungeon
indeed.
with everybody. We're gonna answer some more questions. So Storm Talon's lair, over the past couple live streams, we worked our way through it. We did the first boss one week, we did the second boss next week, and now we're gonna finish it up with that final boss, Storm Talon himself.
Very exciting.
It's going to be really awesome. We'll show off some more medic healing. And actually, I think we're going to do an engineer tank too, right?
I think
Yeah,
we
there
may.
is. Brett is going to be tanking as an
Brett
engineer.
has been begging us for weeks if he could play the engineer tank. He's like, I can only tank with the engineer. Can I please do this? And we had to say no, sorry.
We even made Steven, who is the engineer principal designer,
Yep.
we made him play a different class. So that,
Just so Brett can
yeah.
do the one class that he's
sure,
good at.
we could have two engineers in there, but
So let's grab some questions off this stream. Can I boost my defenses in some way when I get up close to mobs, or do I rely on my medium armor to absorb all the hits?
so you have a couple abilities that increase your defenses that you could use if you're up close when you're against mobs, but for the most part, you're not going to want to stand toe-to-toe with them. You're going to want to be using your strength grid to get back. You're going to be wanting to use your snares and everything else. But yeah, you do have some capability of increasing your defenses.
Cool. And then Nixeris on Twitter wants to know the energy cores that the medic have. Can you replenish them during longer fights or during battle at all?
As we were mentioning earlier, your basic attack restores energy cores as you use it.
So you'll start out of combat with a full bar, but then using your basic attacks, you'll just rebuild it.
Yep.
During combat, and then if you stay out of combat, it'll
If
regenerate all
you
of them.
stay out of combat after a certain amount of time, you'll get them all back
Cool.
instantly.
And then someone in Twitch chat wants to know, due to the medic's odd range, do they have any special crowd control abilities that'll make it easier to hit their enemies?
Well, the medic has access to snares, roots, and a stun. So that all of those help them keep their targets in place.
all of those seem to fit really well with the idea of dropping the fields and the stations down.
I mean, I would say in comparison to some of the other classes, they probably have some of the lowest CC, but they also have, because of the fields, they have essentially what they excel in is battlefield control.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Creating choke points, punishing your enemies for grouping up together where they may be trying to heal, all those kinds of things.
Okay, so while we're waiting to teleport you into the dungeon so we can get started on it, we're actually going to go over the healing build that you're bringing with you into the dungeon. And so we'll work on getting you in there, but let's toss it up on the stream so we can go through your healing build.
And here we are. What's this? A mission.
So what do we got on your bar?
So first off is a mission. This is your basic heal as a medic. You're able to, it's a channeled heal. It's similar to discharge, except this is the heal alternative. It's a 15-meter range, so you're able to get a pretty wide group of allies in there. You can have up to 5 allies be healed with this ability, like a lot of our other abilities. I'll let Mark cover the rest of the abilities.
Yep.
I'll work to get you in the dungeon.
Yeah.
We're having some issues here, so
Little
you go through
technical
your builds.
difficulties. All right. Let's move on to number 2.
We have multiple technical difficulties, but
Yeah.
everything's going to be okay. Until then, I'm going to sing Rainbow
It's a live
Deer.
stream, guys. Are you gonna sing Rainbow
No,
Deer?
I'm not actually going to sing
No.
Rainbow
Ah.
Deer.
So while we're
Hello.
This is interesting. Now you see the questions that are
What are
So
those
now you can
things
see
on
how
the
our
screen?
question. This
Yeah.
is a little bit of
everything,
behind the
everything,
scenes work
this
right
is a
now
meltdown. This is an epic meltdown.
of how we
Behind
do
the
our
curtain.
questions.
Okay. I'll continue to go over the abilities, even though we don't have the ranges. So a mission we talked about. Treat Wounds is my next one. This is actually a single target heal. It's actually got it's the longest range ability on the medic, so I can make sure I have a kind of an emergency heal for my tank. Next we have Shield Surge. This is a shield heal ability. It's also a hybrid ability, so it will deal damage and heal at the same time. And you just have to make sure that you aim and get your enemies and your allies kind of in the same line to do both at once. Next we have Healing Nova. This is one of kind of the longer cooldown burst heals that the medic has. It hits like a big AoE range and deals some really good burst damage. But with all the things that are kind of the cooldowns for the medic, if you rely on that only, you're probably going to have a dead tank or a dead PvP guy like Jade was with me earlier. So I needed to be better. Next we have Paddle Shack. This is kind of like Atomize, where it triggers on a heal crit. It actually also triggers on a damage crit, and it is also a hybrid ability. It does damage and healing within the cone, so you have to be wary of, when you're critting, kind of like Atomize. Next we have Barrier. This is kind of my oh crap button, as we say. It's basically my ultimate life sealer or lifesaver for the tank. It heals a huge amount of shields, applies a really powerful heal over time, also grants interrupt armor to protect your tank from CCs.
It's important to mention that this and Treat Wounds that were showed earlier, they have those really huge targeting areas, but they're actually only going to target one ally at a time. They're not healing everybody in that field.
Yeah, they're single target. Next we have Extricate. This is a pretty cool ability. It basically heals and pulls your allies to you as you use it. It's really cool because it allows you to get enemies out of CCs. If they're standing in like a really powerful snare field and they're having a hard time getting out, you can Extricate and get them out of you. And then finally we have Repair Station. This is one of the medic's primary heal fields. It's really interesting because you can place it in the world and it won't actually start healing until an injured ally or yourself walks over it, and it will trigger the field and will start healing. So what's really cool about this is you can start the fight by placing a Repair Station out in the field. It will then wait. It essentially has like a 30-second duration in which it will trigger normally, and then if nobody walks over it, it will just trigger by itself. So if you're doing really good, you could actually get 2 repair stations out at once.
Awesome, and just in time we fixed our
You guys
issues.
have no idea what was happening.
That was some pretty
in the
awesome
background.
scrambling
Yeah.
we did there. But it looks
We
like we're
managed
in.
it to
Although,
work out.
do we have all 4 of everybody else? I only see 3. Are we missing someone?
Oh man,
Is he dead right there?
No, it's not.
no, that's a dead NPC.
Why don't we do the intro for the other
Yeah,
three
we'll
and
Well,
start.
Let's introduce everyone that we have in the dungeon.
All right, so we have Steven Engel, Meerkat. He's playing a DPS warrior here. He's playing my class, so hopefully he'll do good. Next we have Jade, who just lost with me in the PvP. He's playing a Stalker as a Makari female. And then we have Time Travel here.
No,
Not
that's
Time
not Time
Travel here.
Travel.
That's
Frost.
This is Frost, actually, playing a Spellsinger DPS. And
The
only
Time
strong.
Travel.
Missing
Time
right
travel
now.
seems to
Our
have disappeared.
tank. Yeah, this is
Let's
gonna be-
pop the UI back on.
This is
I
gonna be
bet
extreme
he's telling
hard
us
mode.
that he's having issues.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Hey!
Boom.
Hey, just in time. What is this, a Chua?
Playing a
What?
Chua engineer tank.
Yes.
So what's going to be actually kind of interesting about this is, as a range tank and with range DPS in the group, it's going to make my life as a healer a little bit more difficult, but with some skill and proper aiming of abilities, the medic will excel.
So let's go ahead and start,
Yeah,
and
let's
we'll
get going.
we'll walk you guys through this stuff whenever Brett's ready to pull,
go.
or
Let's,
the healer can face pull. It's fine, like you did yesterday during our rehearsal.
Okay, that was an ad. All right,
So,
here we go.
We're in Stormtalon's Lair, which is one of the level 20 dungeons that we have. If you've seen the previous live streams, this will look a little bit familiar to you. We are right in the hallway just after killing Ethros, the big tornado twister storm elemental guy. And so they're going to work their way up this final hallway to the last boss. Some of the things I want to call out are the right side of the screen. We talked about this a little bit last time, but every dungeon has randomized events that it chooses from as you're playing through. And so every time you enter the dungeon, it's going to give you a pre-selected random group of optional objectives to complete. If you choose to complete all of them, these guys are not going to because they're starting halfway through the dungeon. But if you were to complete them, you get extra loot at the end of the dungeon. You'd get rewards based on your performance. We give you a medal like bronze, silver, gold based on how well you did in completing those objectives or killing the boss within a certain amount of time. A bunch of different ways of doing it. And you'll actually see at the end of this dungeon a scoreboard that pops up to tell everyone how awesome they were or how terrible they were in the case of Mark. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be number 1 in heals. That's all I got to say.
So yeah, they're going to work their way through. Let's grab some questions while you guys are fighting your way through the trash. Notorious Megan wanted to know, how do you exactly heal in a raid without worrying about the UI minigame where you're just staring at a bunch of health bars?
So you're going to have to position yourself well. You're going to have to communicate with the other people that are in your raid to make sure that they're sticking near you. As a medic with this short range, you're going to have to pay attention to what's going on in the world. Since you're not doing the healing minigame, you're paying attention to the health bars on your allies. And of course, we're getting into the hardcore raid testing, so this is something that we're going to be iterating on. Oh, Jade just got nuked. He's not having a good live stream.
So those stalkers are a little easy to fall, it looks like, or Jade's just really bad.
We're gonna have to look at the balance for that.
But I mean, they do wear light armor, and he is staying really.
They wear medium armor, but he's
sorry,
probably in a CPS stance right now, which is making it so that he's taking
his damage mitigation is not as high as it could be.
Oh, no,
oh man, you're not getting out of there.
Yeah, we're running into some trouble.
Wow.
They pulled through it.
You stayed alive by, not you, Meerkat stayed alive by the skin of his teeth. So someone can pop up Jade. If you can find him.
Well, I don't need to do it. As
anyone can do him.
I'm gonna let my mana regen. Let's have one of the other bros res him up.
So why doesn't Steven? Why don't you go ahead and res Jade?
Yeah, it looks like people are having trouble.
Or maybe not.
We are in closed beta. We are going to run into a few issues from time to time. And it looks like we ran into an issue right now.
Let's pop him up.
He's not.
There we go.
Well.
So he's just going to cheat his way in. That's fine. While you guys are working your way through, let's grab the next question. Can you go into more detail about some of those medic abilities that do both damage and heals?
Sure. One of the abilities is called Shield Surge, and I'm pretty sure that this is a consuming ability at the moment.
I'm actually using it right now on my action bar. It's this one right here.
It's something that costs power cores, and it at the same time that it deals damage to the enemy, it's going to heal the shields of your allies. The medic actually has the ability to heal ally shields, which none of the other healers have access to that sort of ability.
Sorry, are you still going?
Oh yeah, there's one other ability in the heal tree that also does damage and heals at the same time. So you're gonna have to line up the enemies and your allies. If it works really well if you have like a warrior in your group or something like that, somebody who's gonna be up close, because it's fairly easy to land both of those targets, to hit both of those targets.
Gotcha. And how many repair stations can you have out at one time?
By default, you can only have one out at a time, but there's potential that you could be upgrading that through amps and tiers and getting more than one out at a time.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting. So basically, when you create it, it creates the field. As you can see here, I'm mousing over it. That lasts for 30 seconds. Once it triggers, it's out. If you time it well, if you essentially use it at the very last second, it will trigger, and then right as it triggers, you can make another one.
Because cooldown's 30
right,
seconds.
It says, so as another party member walks over that one, you could have two.
This is something that's really good to prep for a fight with.
So we're going to be quiet right now because you guys are reaching the last room.
To see a little something something. Who is that over there? Ooh.
The master's ancient ways remembered. And now you shall witness the birth of our gods. Behold the power of Storm Talon.
So here we are right in the... Oh, you just immediately pull. And so this is Storm Talon. And so we've got this giant dragon dude. Oh. He's got a bunch of cool mechanics. That one, he knocks everyone back and stuns them all while having this telegraph that's closing in. And so the team's got to coordinate their stuns to make sure that that doesn't wipe the group.
Yeah, he has interrupt armor, which means they have to land multiple interrupts to stun him and put him into that vulnerable state.
Right. And he's also got a front cleave you can see there.
Yeah, and as the medic, I have to kind of stay out of the cleave, but stay close enough to my tank. Oh, see, I'm getting cleaved.
See, you're getting cleaved right there.
It's cool, though.
His tank can pick up that repair station. he wants to pick up a lot of healing.
And so now this is one of my favorite parts of this fight. So he targets one random player and puts like a safe zone around that player, you can see. But at the same time, he's also trying to hit that player with lightning. And so that player's got to keep moving, and the rest of the group has to move with him. You're just getting hit by every single lightning bolt there. That was really impressive.
Steven was about to die, and so I needed to make sure.
Sacrificing yourself for the good of the team.
For the most part, though, the medic actually excels in those situations where everybody has to group up on top of each other because the medic's able to heal while moving, and his heals are these short-range AoEs.
Yeah, and because I have the medium armor, I'm able to take a little bit more punishment than an Esper would.
Yeah, you can see every single one of your abilities you're using on the move. You don't have to worry about standing there to fire off something strong.
And please keep in mind that this is a level 20 dungeon. As an Exile, this is going to be the first dungeon that you encounter.
And so it's kind of a really good introduction to boss telegraphs.
Off telegraphs. It's pretty cool.
Seems like you guys are doing okay this time.
I think
Stormtown's pretty low, so you might be all right.
Yeah, you guys kind of
tore him up just a bit.
through the hell.
And there it is.
See, what did I say? Number 1 in heals.
So look at that. Number 1 in heals, number 1 at staying alive. No, what? Now come on. We've got beta surveys in there for a reason.
He's the one healer in this group, and he brags about the fact that he's
I mean,
you're also number 2
sometimes you're the best
in
healer.
kills.
That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, this scoreboard, I mean, it's a very temporary UI, but you get the idea there of, you know, at the end of the dungeon, we want to give everyone some cool stats, and that'll eventually also tell you the stuff that you might have missed out on. So it'll say, like, you know, you got a bronze medal. If you had done this, you would have gotten a silver medal. And so we want to make sure that you guys always see something to look forward to and have something to aim towards the next time you run it, and just kind of keep that just a little bit of competitive edge there for running a dungeon over and over again.
It just kind of makes it a little bit more fun, especially if you kind of, you know, maybe you've run the dungeon a couple times and now you got to kind of amp up the challenge for yourself and your teammates.
So I think we have time for just like 1 or 2 more questions before we got to wrap this up. So let's just grab the last ones we got on here.
Let's do it.
If there's both an enemy and a friend in front of you, which does it urgency prioritize?
It chooses the closest one to you.
Okay.
So within the line, whoever's closest to you, that's the one you're going to jump to. So, I mean, if they were standing right next to each other, one will be closer to you, so it'll probably prioritize the enemy. But
You have to be really mindful of the positioning of enemies and allies. If you're trying to save an ally by getting that heal on them, you're going to have to kind of thread the needle in order to
Right. But even worst case, at least you've closed the gap a little bit, and then you can use your other abilities.
Yeah, no, that's one of the best things that it's for, is especially because you have the closer range, you can just jump to them, blast out a big heal, maybe put a repair station down on you, and then you're good to go and you're all set up.
Oh, this is a great question. So how does medic AoE heal fields work effectively in a game where there's a lot of movement and dodging?
So most of our fields are a little bit shorter than what you might be used to in other games. The heal fields, like repair station, is actually pretty long. But that one works because you see where that is as an ally, and so you're going to stand in that area. And while, the other players know that you're in there, you have to kind of judge, is it worth it to get the heal over time from this field, or should I move out of it? And then besides that, for fields just in general, it's really good to use your CC abilities to stun players, to keep them in those fields, and your ally stuns to keep them in there. And as a medic, you actually have an ability called Extricate, which can pull allies to you. So you have the ability to pull allies into your healing fields.
And so it seems like a lot of what we were also seeing in the PvP, we're seeing a lot more of those fields, a lot of abilities that will slow players, stun players, root players, and so you can control the field a lot better as the medic.
It's definitely, I mean, I would say that the medic is definitely a little higher skill cap, and that is part of why it's harder, is you have to place your fields effectively. In that encounter, for example, the big telegraph is closing in on my buddy. I know where my tank's going, so if I place the field in front of him, I know he will run into it. And then the damaging attack will go away, and then he's standing in the field and getting healing.
Yeah, I mean, all of our classes require different types of skills, kind of. Like the medic requires skills in placing your fields effectively. The spell slinger requires good skills to time your spell surge at the right time, to line up your shots. It's kind of interesting how all of our classes have these skill caps for the specific play style associated with them.
I think with the Storm Talon fight, we saw that like once someone gets targeted and has to keep moving, you know where they're moving. Like they start running in a circle, and so you can prep your fields to make sure that they're having to run through them too.
And they can see where your fields are too.
And so they know where to aim for. So I think we're out of time, so I can't grab any more questions. I'm being yelled at for asking too many questions. But you know what? We're going to stay here a little bit longer and ask some more questions just to spite these people who are telling me no more questions.
I can't.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm kidding. We actually do have to go.
Dude, I was totally preparing to read
You were
the
ready
next
for
one,
it?
too. Oh, man.
Okay, one last question.
Oh.
Do medics have any long-range abilities? Like super long range?
The longest two that they have are their single target abilities, and those are both 30 meters.
Okay.
To comparison, the Spellslinger has a 40-meter ability, so that is by
Right.
far the longest range.
Cool. So I think that is inappropriate, Chris,
Yeah.
to put up here on the live stream.
I think
Anyway,
that- I think that's an HR violation.
I think that about wraps it up for this episode of the live stream. If you missed any parts of it, we're going to have the archive up on the Twitch channel shortly after. We'll have it up on YouTube next week as well. We're also going to cut out some of the dual pieces so you can watch those separately if you want to show people the medic versus stalker or even the 2v2 open world PvP stuff.
Hopefully we'll post me beating Jade and not me losing with Jade.
I think we're going to show all
think we're gonna show
of it.
all of that,
we want to
so-
make sure people know that you're pretty balanced too in terms of your win-lose ratio.
I think it was actually just Jade.
So just a couple reminders. The winter beta survey is still open. If you haven't filled it out yet, please go over to SurveyMonkey. The link is up, I think, at the bottom of the Twitch page. You can click on it and fill out that survey. We are prioritizing beta invites off of people who fill out that survey and meet the minimum spec, of course. Also, follow us on our Twitch channel. You'll get an email as soon as we start streaming. So give us a follow, and we will. You'll get notified every time the next show is coming up. And speaking of the next show, we will be back next week with the other half of the exciting 2 new classes. That would be the engineer, which is I'm gonna admit it's my favorite class right now,
Yeah.
mostly because of those bots.
I
But
like to, you know what? This is something I haven't really said before, but the engineer is kind of the love letter that I wrote for my wife in terms of a game.
what does that
What
mean?
does that even mean?
So that might sound really confusing now. that
Now, like
say
I was
it,
gonna wrap
but
up,
yeah.
but now I want to stay here and
yeah.
hear
She
what
must
this
have been
means.
real disappointed
so
on the
my wife
anniversary.
plays- my wife Carly, she plays MMOs, and she likes a long-range class, and she wanted somebody that could be a little bit tankier. And
So are you saying that if people end up not liking the engineer or finding it's unbalanced, they should blame your wife?
yeah, I guess they.
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna hold you to that.
good to know. So, so we'll have the engineer, the engineer class drop next week, the engineer dev speak, and then the AMA and the live stream as usual during the normal times. We're back to our Wednesday for the drop, Thursday for the AMA, and then Saturday for the live stream.
This week's AMA, I will pass Mr. Mark here in Reddit Karma. And so I'm not allowing him to do any more Reddit.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Oh, because he won't
We have
be
a little
doing it.
competition going back
He
and
Yeah.
started ahead. I passed. You know.
You know there's a problem. Look, just between us guys, you know there's a problem when people start comparing their Reddit karma, right? I'm just saying. Like, don't tell these guys, but... so check us out. Give us some feedback on Reddit, on Twitter, anywhere you want to give us some feedback on these live streams. We're having a really great time doing them, but we want to make sure that you guys are enjoying watching them.
Despite the technical difficulties.
In spite of the technical
recovered from
difficulties.
a lot of stuff today.
But
Thanks for
we
sticking
seem to
with
do a
us.
pretty good job. We managed to pull through. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back next week with the next stream. And have a great weekend. Enjoy the LCS.
Deuces.
What?
You don't know what deuces is?